Hey guys, this is Buford with Scholarships for Soccer, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Nicole Carbone, and she is currently a college soccer player at Montclair State in New Jersey. Nicole, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
No problem.
Okay, tell us a little bit about how you ended up at Montclair State. What was the process going into you choosing that school?
Sure. How I ended up at Montclair State was a little bit non-traditional to the normal recruiting process. With my club team, I'd be going to all the ID tournaments and stuff, and I was sending out emails for coaches to come watch me play and all that. But I never emailed Montclair State. I never even looked at them. And then one day over the summer, after my junior year of high school, I was playing with my summer team, and my coach for that team was friends with the coach at Montclair State, who's my current coach now. And my coach at Montclair State, he also coaches a club team.
Okay.
I'm a goalkeeper, and it turned out he needed a goalkeeper for one of his tournaments with his team. So he reached out to my coach, asked if I was available. So long story short, I ended up guest playing for my college coach's club team. And that's how he first saw me play. He reached out to me a couple weeks later that he was interested in possibly having me at Montclair State. So then we started communicating, and then he came eventually to further tournaments and stuff and watched me play more with my club team. And the school ended up being a perfect match for what I wanted to do academically and athletically. It's a great program, so it just ended up being the perfect fit. But yeah, guest playing for my college coach's club team was how I ended up there.
Wow. Okay. Now Montclair State, what level is it? Is it D1, D2, D3, NAIA,
It's Division Three.
Division Three?
Division Three, we play in the NJAC conference.
Okay. All right. And you mentioned that you are a keeper.
Yes.
Um, do you think there's anything different about recruiting for keepers and field players?
Um, it depends a lot on the coach. Some coaches are very they have it set in their mind like what they want the physical build of their keepers to look like, and some coaches are more open to it. Like personally, I'm 5'4", so I'm a much shorter keeper than like you'll typically see at like most Division One programs. They're normally looking for like the taller keepers, but like I said, that's not all coaches. But Division Three, my coach, he like from the get-go, he was like, I don't care about your height or whatever, like I just care about how you can play, and I appreciated that, obviously. But yeah, like I said, it depends a lot on the coach. It's definitely a little different, I would say, the recruiting process as a keeper, but it depends a lot on the coaches that you're communicating with.
Okay. Were you ever discouraged or intimidated because, like you say, you aren't one of the taller keepers? Did you ever get to the point where you say, well, I may not be able to play in college because of my size?
Yeah, I mean, at all these tournaments and even like ID camps that I would go to, there were these girls that were much, bigger, like build wise, like strength, and also taller than me. And it was definitely intimidating at times, but like I knew like my skill and I knew what I was capable of, so I would just try to always remember that. And like I knew I was good enough to play at the college level, so I had to find the right match for me. But yeah, it got intimidating at times.
All right. Well, let's go all the way back to the high school days, if you can remember that.
Yeah.
With your club, what level did you guys play at? Were you ECNL or were you state Premier League or
Yeah.
lower level?
My club was one of the smaller, well, it still is. It's one of the smaller clubs in New Jersey. It's not a big name, not that highly recognizable. We just played in EDP.
Okay.
We
Yes.
played in an EDP league. Didn't travel too far, but it was a good level of competitiveness. And the EDP tournaments ended up getting me um, the right recognition that like I needed. Like it was a good, what's the word I'm looking for? It gave me good exposure. EDP.
Okay. All right. Now, what year are you now in college?
I'm currently a junior. In the fall, hopefully, if we have a season, that'll be my senior year. But I am in a 5-year program. So
Okay.
my 5th year, I actually plan to coach for my team, to be like a grad assistant coach. That's the plan
Oh,
right now.
great. Okay. Now what is a typical, like, in season? What is a typical day like schedule wise for you? You know, I know it's hard to fit in athletics and academics, but what's a typical day like in season for you?
Right. In season, we normally will have practices sometime in the afternoon. It varies like slightly every year, just based on the rest of the coaches' schedules, and like we share the field, the soccer field, with the men's team, so the coaches have to communicate and figure out practice times. But our coach will give us our practice times, and we pretty much have to make our class schedules around that. Um, Personally, I try to get my classes done in the morning, so then I just get school done, and then I move on to soccer, and then I go home and I finish the rest of my day and get my homework done. But it doesn't always work out like that. Sometimes I'll have class, then practice, then more class after practice, and there's also lifts thrown in there. We lift in season and out of season, so those are usually like 2 or 3 times a week as well. It's definitely hectic, but once you get into the flow of it, it's not too bad. You get used to it.
Okay. Does that leave any time for any type of social life?
Yeah, for sure. Um, it's you spend. I mean, most of my close friends at college are my teammates. I do have friends within my major, and I made friends like through academics. Like I'm an education major, so I have a lot of fellow education friends. But I mean, you get really close with your team. I mean, you spend most of your time with them. And I live off campus now. I don't live on campus in the dorms anymore. So I live with a bunch of my teammates, and that's fun. Yeah, it's crazy, and it's not. We don't have that much free time, as like your average student, but there's definitely a social life in there too.
Okay. Now, going back to your recruitment period, when you were being recruited, how many schools would you say that you reached out to?
I reached out to probably around 10 schools. What I did was I made a big list, and I was like, with what I had in mind of what I wanted to do as far as my career, that ended up changing. Um, but what I initially had thought I wanted to do, I looked at schools that had good programs for that, and I made a big list. Then I narrowed it down to soccer programs that I'd be interested in, and then I narrowed it down more and more, and I tried to get around 10 schools, and I would just well, actually, I didn't just send out an email to all those coaches. That's a mistake that I think a lot of parents and players like make. I tried to make every email that I sent out to those like 10 or so schools, to those coaches, very personable, and I took the time to do a little bit of research. I went onto their athletics websites, and I did a little bit of research. I saw they won 2 conference championships in the past 5 years. And hey, coach, my name is so and so from so and so. I saw that your program is very successful. I love that you've won 2 conference championships in the past 5 years. I think that's a program I would want to be a part of, something like along those lines. And that ends up going the extra mile, just taking those 5 or 10 minutes to show that you care and not just send the typical fill in the blank email. But to answer your question, probably around 10 schools is what I tried to narrow it down to.
Okay, and did you get any offers other than Montclair State?
Yeah, when it came down for me to make a decision, I think I had around like 4 or 5 other options at the time. But like I said earlier, Montclair State ended up being the best option for me academically and athletically, so I made that decision.
Okay, and with you being a keeper, how many keepers are on you guys roster right now?
Yeah, so my team, it's kind of crazy. We currently have 3 keepers, and we're all the same class. So that was definitely not a situation I would say I was prepared for at first. But I've definitely adjusted to it. It's definitely a unique situation having 3 keepers all the same age. But yeah, that's our current situation. We did have a fourth. She was a freshman this year, but she unfortunately decided to part ways. So for my senior year, it's just going to be the three of us.
Okay. And how many total players do you have on your roster?
I think we're around 25 right now. Usually it'll vary from like 25 to 30, somewhere in that range.
Okay. And during a typical game, about how many players get any playing time?
So the starting keeper normally stays the same. That doesn't rotate too much. But as far as field players, my coach likes to get everyone involved as much as possible, and also give the starting 11 like a quick break, and he'll put them back in. But it all depends on the opponent too. In like really close, intense games, obviously he's not going to make that many substitutions. But when he feels comfortable, he'll try and get everyone on the bench involved, which is really good.
Okay. And what would you say is the absolute best part of playing soccer in college?
The best part about playing soccer in college, just the experience, like game days, like it's just so much fun. Like the locker room atmosphere, blasting music, and like your teammates become your best friends. So just like spending that time with them, traveling, going on, the coach buses and staying overnight in hotels, like just the experience in general, like everything that comes with it, the gear. During preseason, we get our gear, and it's like Christmas morning. Everyone's like rifling through their lockers. It's just, yeah, everything that comes along with it just makes the experience awesome.
All right. And if you could give, high school seniors, juniors, people looking to play in college, one bit of advice, what would that advice be?
I would say be patient and take advantage of opportunities that you're presented with. So like in other words, like say yes to everything right now. Like in my case, I could have said no to guest playing that weekend, and I never would have ended up where I am today. So yeah, just if you're presented with an opportunity, say yes to everything. It might seem pointless or stupid, but you never know what can come out of it. And like my story, like I never in a million years thought that would happen. I had no intent of playing for Montclair State, never even looked at them, and it just ended up being a perfect situation for me. So be patient and say yes.
Well, that is outstanding. And Nicole, like I say, I know you've got better things to do than sit here and talk to an old guy. So we really appreciate your spending some time with us and giving us valuable insights as to the college soccer process. And I know our parents will appreciate it, and hopefully their players will appreciate it as well. But thank you for coming and joining us.
Yeah, of course.
Hope you have a good season, and thank you for being an education major, and hopefully you can help some of our kids in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
All right, thank you. You have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.